You can't please everybody, but you can try. Hi, my name is Katie Orton, and today I'll be speaking to you about the importance of pleasing your audience while presenting. I mean, who am I to start off and tell you exactly what you're supposed to do in your presentation and how you should talk to your audience, but a mere freshman in college. And you might think that, wow, she must not have that much experience doing this. But I have quite a bit when it comes to catering to weird audiences. Because during high school, I was one of the main people that would present to the middle schools and the elementary schools whenever we would travel for various things such as science club or talking to the middle schoolers about what classes they should take and like what they could expect from these types of classes, because some of the names just weren't always straightforward and like what exactly was journalism. But when you go into it, it was pretty easy to present to those for me because I relate better to younger kids, and it's easier for me to talk down to them than it would be to talk to a bunch of peers, because the judgment levels, they're insanely different, and it feels really odd because you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to see these people multiple times, and it's a little bit more nerve-wracking when it's people that you know. But you shouldn't let that get you down, because while presenting, there are more things you should take into account than, wow, is this person going to judge me for what I did today? Or, wow, that was a ridiculous speech. Why did she give it on that? So, to begin, I'm going to talk about the importance of knowing your age group. So, the way I would present to a bunch of college kids should be a lot more professional than when I'm presenting to the 6-year-olds that I presented to in elementary schools. When I talked to them, I had to make sure that I used a simplistic language and that it made sense for their age. While when I'm talking to a bunch of college kids, if I talk to them in the same manner, they're going to stop listening because, well, nobody likes being talked down to, and nobody likes acting like somebody that acts as though they're superior to you, especially when they're the same age as you. So, going into this presentation, I was telling you about how I've presented to a wide range of groups. Well, these same groups also have different preferences when it comes to things like visuals or your appearance. The way I'm dressed today would be more professional, and it makes me look older, I guess, for groups such as, well, college kids. But if I was presenting to a bunch of kids, I mean, the way I'm dressed, if I'm dressed more fun and quirky, they're probably more likely to listen to me. And if I'm dressed a little bit more professional in a suit or whatever, they might lose interest just based on the fact that, wow, she's a boring person. She's wearing a pantsuit today. Same as like how 6-year-olds won't listen to Hillary Clinton during the presidential election, but they might listen to, you know, The Wiggles on television. I think that's a show still. But the way you present to these different groups should always be taken into account, as well as the fact that they are going to prefer different things in your presentations. And if I wanted to use drawings to get a funny message across, then I should use drawings to get that message across. But in a more serious presentation, I should always take into account that having statistics, charts, and graphs are going to be a lot more helpful than if I, drew a stick figure and had it presented behind me. In my presentation today, I have opted to not use any visuals because that would distract from the fact that I'm focusing on the audience themselves. In this presentation, I was hoping to focus on the demographics and taking into account that if I'm presenting to a group of white men, it doesn't matter what age they are. It's always going to be different than if I was presenting to a minority of women, because the way they see the world and the way that they would agree with you is always going to be different. Because they might be super feminist, or they also might be very against it. So if I'm standing in front of a group of men that are meninists, then it's going to be way different than if I was standing in front of a group of females, because the females are always going to listen to me right off the bat a little bit better than the guys that are men. Well, not to be offended and not to target men, but they are a little bit more against women, and they're going to doubt my credibility and think that I do not know what I'm talking about. But with a group of women, they're always going to be more interested to listen because, well, we women stick together. We're a power pack. So it's important not only to focus on who you're presenting to, but what you're presenting, because the content is just as important as the people listening to it. And if your content is something that isn't relevant to that group of people, why'd you show up to present it today anyways? So because this presentation is to a group of J101 students, or 150, my bad. then it makes it a little bit different than the way I would present to a group of, experienced presenters that do TED Talks all the time, or frequently are found watching these talks. Because these people are going to be a little bit more critical of the way I present than a group of students would. Because these students are in the same situation as I am. But when it comes to presenting, it's important just to, be yourself. And it is important to make sure that you're comfortable with how you present and not to always cater to the audience. Because the audience is important, but really you wouldn't be there if it wasn't a valid reason that you're presenting to that specific group. So just make sure that you're not trying to please everybody all the time. You should probably just start off with your audience. Thank you.